Bonsoir and welcome back. My name is Austin, and today I'll be talking about Undercurrent by Rita Wong. This book was gifted to me by my friend, whose sister it was owned to, who did partly annotate it. Ooh, all that writing. So that's fun. It's kind of nice to see what her thoughts were, but she only highlighted like 3 or 4 poems, so I read most of it, allowing myself to make my own interpretations, which was really nice. So this poetry collection focuses on environmental concerns, mostly to do with water, contamination and degradation, and what the future will look like for us, both pessimistic and optimistic, depending on which poem you're reading. This book also has a big focus of Indigenous voices about how they've been impacted, how their futures will be impacted, and how their past connects to what is now happening, and how they've always been the caretakers of the land. And I feel like that is so important, because even though they have been of the land for centuries, I shouldn't say that. I don't know like anything about history, guys. But it's no, I shouldn't say their land. They don't consider it their land, but but like they consider it whatever. They were here first, and they took such care of the land, and then we came and ruined it. Just silly, goofy of us. So I feel like putting a lot of their thoughts and a lot of their experiences at the forefront was amazing. Even the cover was from an Indigenous artist. I feel like that was really special, and I'm so glad they put that in. Now, this was my first time reading a poetry collection. I've read short story collections and anthologies before, but no poetry. So to qualify if this is good or bad is not up to me. But for the most part, I thought the poems were very thought-provoking, powerful, relevant. I really enjoyed them, and I did think they had me stopping and thinking to every couple of lines, going, okay, what are we talking about here? And how it affects the real world. And I just thought, yeah, it's really covered it in terms of poetry. Can you tell how good I am at understanding this? So I found most of them to be like that, but there were a couple, some felt like there was nothing to them. It was sort of just words on a page. Like, are you sure those were poetry? Those were poems? Because what were you trying to say? Because they were structured, because they all have different structures. You know, lots of them are like this, where it's just paragraphs, but then you have something like, oh, lost the marge. Something like this. And like obviously the way it's put on the page is super important, but some of them were not put on the page. Were put on the page like a paragraph, but they didn't read like a normal sentence. They didn't read like a coherent sentence at all. Maybe this is a poetry thing, but I didn't understand it. Other poems just sort of was like, okay. I just didn't really do anything to me. It didn't get me to think or move me. They just existed, and I was like, they just felt flat. But once again, I can't say anything. There's 2 poems in particular that stand out to me, which was, let's see if I can remember them, Declaration of Intent and Take a Stand. Declaration of Intent, I felt really covered what I felt and how I felt and how I think lots of people feel without compromising voice. It still felt uniquely hers and her words, and you really see some of the poetic devices come through in that poem, not just like the structure, but you know what I mean. So I thought that was a really good one, and that one will stick with me, but I think the one that'll stick with me more, and I remember the page number, is Take a Stand. And there's one line in particular, which is luckily highlighted for me, that I find so powerful, and that is, what's lost? Not just the streams, but the people who stole them from the salmon who swam them. This line really showcases what environmental advocacy is, which is fighting against an enemy that is almost entirely gone. We're fighting the remnants, the policies that were put in place and now stay in place, and the capitalist greed that was put in place by these companies and the ways they put that there, and now we have to undo that. And I felt like that was really strong. Yeah. Overall, I rated this collection 4 stars, which I know is pretty rare for me, but and I just realized I'm wearing my Y'all Need Jesus shirt. Oh my god. That's actually so embarrassing. I rated this poetry collection 4 stars. Pretty rare for me, but as I mentioned, some of the poems just didn't do anything. I felt most of them were very powerful though. Overall, I think that this would be great for anyone who likes environmental literature and just people who are interested in getting involved. I think this is a great point to understand, especially perspectives of Indigenous people, and if you're Canadian, because this collection has lots of focus on Canada, as the author's Canadian. I'm Canadian too. Whoa, connection. So naturally it's like, doesn't mean much, but you might connect with it a little more if you are Canadian or you understand the cities and stuff. But overall, great read, and I think lots of people can get something out of this. Thank you for listening. I can't believe I did that in my Y'all Need Jesus shirt. I'm so upset.